Hello and welcome to Lovely English Stories. Thank you for stopping by. This story is written for advanced English learners. Ready? Let's get started. C1 English Story. A Time Gone By. A few days ago, on impulse, I decided to organise my very cluttered bedroom wardrobes. First, I put aside garments that I no longer wear, ready for donation to my local charity shop. I then began sorting through a drawer containing old documents, household bills, and receipts. It was then that I came upon a file containing more personal paraphernalia, past birthday and Christmas cards, sentimental letters, and some faded photographs from my childhood. Underneath was a long-forgotten folder containing the story of my life which I wrote many years ago. I would like to share it with you. I was born in 1951 at Hurley Hospital, the second daughter of Mary and Kenneth Waterman. When my mother took me home to Grandma's house, where my parents were lodging, my sister, who is 5 years older than me, was most perturbed. She had wished for a fluffy kitten. After explaining I was her new sister, Jane was not happy until my parents informed her that she could choose my name. "Call her Lottie," was her retort. And so, at that stage, my name was Lottie Anna. However, after consideration, my grandmother, a woman of plain speech, told my mother, "You ought to go and change her name. L.A.W. looks strange embellished on the case of a young girl." Cases were often then initialed. Therefore, some months after my birth, my certificate was changed and I was named Lottie Hannah. The second name, it should be noted, was my grandmother's. We lived at Grandma and Grandad's house for a further 18 months, until my family were allocated a council prefab. This was a chalet-type building constructed of corrugated sheeting panels. The place was a dream home to Mother. After years of lodging in rooms and boarding with various relatives, my father had been in the Navy during and after World War II and had been demobbed through ill health. She now had a home for her family. The house was 1 story, with a living room, 2 bedrooms, bathroom, and fitted kitchen, including a fridge, a luxury at that time. My brother, Kian James, was born after me, and so my parents' family was complete. I cannot remember anything of his birth, although I like to think I welcomed him and was not disappointed, as my sister was with me. One of my earliest recollections was when my mother took me to enroll at school. I remember sitting in a large reception room, waiting to see the headmistress. I can still feel the fear. On my first day at school, after the summer holidays, I recall taking into the classroom a little furry bear that I had been gifted as a present. This made me feel more secure, as it was the first time I had ever been separated from my mother. I was terrified. The teacher would not allow me to keep the toy in class, so I ran out of school and straight to my nearby home as fast as my legs would go. When I had settled down at school, I began to stay for school dinners. We were made to eat everything put before us. I like most food, but I detest butter beans. One day, I left the offending food on my plate. I was sternly told to eat it. I can remember the choking sensation as I forced the beans into my mouth. On returning to the classroom, I was again reprimanded by the teacher and made to stand in front of everyone. Imagine my horror when I vomited before the entire class. To this day, I feel nauseous at the sight of a tin of butter beans. When I was 7, we moved to a proper brick-built house with 3 bedrooms. I changed schools and began junior education at North Lane. The teachers were strict, and we all lived in fear of the dreaded cane. Just the thought of the thrashings was enough to keep us all well behaved. Outside of school, we had lots of fun. Most of the families on our street had children, and we would gather together and play hopscotch, rounders, whip and top, and pass the ball. Sometimes, if not caught, a ball would land in one of the gardens, but most of the parents would allow us to retrieve it, except for the dreaded Mr. Porter. We were all terrified of him. He would reprimand us and sometimes kept our ball. I wonder how many he stored over the years. When it snowed, we used to join our sledges together and make way at full speed down the icy road. Sometimes there were as many as 10 sledges, all holding different sizes and numbers of children, and at the bottom of the hill we would end up in a pile, laughing hysterically. How no one was injured is a miracle. In the 1950s, children could play on the road as there were hardly any cars in our district. Only posh people could afford one. At the age of 11, I began secondary education at Welham Day School. We were separated from the boys by 2 large doors on the corridor and a high wall in the yard. We would be reduced to a fit of giggles if we saw one of these forbidden creatures. When I was 14, new education policy meant that our school became a mixed school. From then on, discipline was virtually non-existent, as both staff and pupils came to terms with unfamiliar territory. The boys we had only previously glimpsed were now sitting with us. I much preferred the girls-only days. The boys seemed to be immature after fantasizing about them for years. About this time, I became very disillusioned and decided against everyone's advice to leave school as soon as I reached 15. My first job, which lasted for 4 years, was at Pillman's Chemist. For the first 2 years, my responsibilities were ordering prescription medicines, packaging dispensary products, and stock-taking all medical supplies. Every Monday, my duties also included polishing all the wooden cupboards and drawers until our reflection could be seen on the gleaming surfaces. My work was always checked, so I made sure that every job was carried out thoroughly and accurately. When I was eventually allowed to work in the shop, I was instructed on how to advise customers on the correct medicines for their ailments. I also attended training sessions to learn about the use of hair products and cosmetics. This instruction was both interesting and financially advantageous, as many product samples were given by the various companies. At 19 years old, I applied and was successful in gaining employment at another pharmacy, Bradley's. I was very happy there and stayed for 9 years. I was given more responsibility than previously and was taught how to read and dispense prescriptions, Mr. Bradley's main source of income. The dispensary was extremely busy, and the time quickly passed. Here my journal ends. It is a snapshot of a time gone by. I can smile back at the girl I was so many years ago. The woman I am now, 70 years old and retired, still has a zest for life. I love traveling in this country and beyond, especially with friends or family. I look forward to the future with confidence and, as is tradition, I hope to receive a telegram from the sovereign on my 100th birthday. Do you keep a journal like Lottie? Sometimes it's nice to have them and read back on old memories. Tell us in the comments below. We hope you enjoyed this lovely English story. Thank you for stopping by. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. See you soon.